Hey everybody, this is Van Dweller. So, I have asked everyone to get on the new Stencil 3.0. I'm sorry, I know, but it's really going to be the last time that I ever ask you, because this stencil is like the stencil to end all stencils. So, this short video is going to be a walkthrough on how to set up the stencil. So if you're having trouble, hopefully this video will help you do it. And it should be actually fairly easy. So the first thing that you want to do is go to somewhere where there's a download link for the stencil. That can be my page. That can be the rules page of the of Classic Tetris Monthly. That could be somewhere in my channel. I think you can type in Stencil and it will come up. A link will come up in the chat. A couple different ways to do it. If you're not sure, ask in my channel, ask in my Discord. But we're going to take it off of the front page of my channel. So I scroll down and I see use the stencil, and it says new stencil link 3. Whoops. You already saw that I prepared a little bit, but new stencil 3.0 link. So we're going to click on that. It's going to wait for the page to render a little bit. It's going to open up Dropbox. The top right hand corner will have a thing that says download. So go ahead and say direct download. And that should save in your downloads folder. So if you say show in folder, it'll show you in your folder. So just remember the path that you used. Okay. Then you're going to open OBS. This whole guide assumes you're using OBS. Let me move this out of the way. There we go. So I've done everything I need to do in the browser. So here's OBS, and this actually is an example of the stencil already in use on my channel, which is stencil ready. Pretty close. Not perfect, but pretty good. So what you're going to want to do is make a brand new scene, and you can do that by clicking plus. And let's just call it brand new scene. You can call it stencil scene. You can call it CTM, whatever you want to call it. So we hit OK. We've got a brand new scene. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the stencil image, right? And that was in our downloads folder. So we're just going to call that stencil 3.0 or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter as long as you know what it is. We're going to browse to the directory. I have that in my downloads. Download stencil 3.0. All right, now it opens it. So this is an exact 16 by 9, right? So what you want to do, it should start up in the top right-hand corner, but you'll see how it snaps to the left and snaps to the top. So you want to snap it to the left and top. Then you want to take this handle in the bottom right-hand corner and drag it all the way until it snaps again. So now you know you've got it set up where the whole scene is taken up by the stencil, okay? Then you want to bring in your Tetris playboard. Now I'm going to demonstrate both console and emulator. Both are pretty easy. So we're going to add in our video capture device. I already have one called Tetris console screen, so we'll use that. And it should take a second to open, and there it is. So there's my beautiful Tetris console screen. So I'm going to make that, I'm just going to expand that a little bit. So a couple things you have to know about OBS. Some of you already know this, and I apologize, but if you're watching this video, maybe you don't. If you hold down the Alt key and grab one of the handles, this is like a cropping feature, and you can grab any of the handles and it will crop, okay? So that's one thing you have to know. And then the other thing, so that's Alt. Hold down Alt and grab a handle and move the mouse around, and it does that. The other one that you need to know is Shift. And if you hold down Shift, grab a handle and move the mouse around, it's going to distort, okay? And again, you can grab any handle and do that. Now, if I distorted, okay, so that was all holding Shift, right? Shift, and then holding down one of the handles and moving it around. If I just, now that it's distorted, if I just grab a handle and then without holding anything down and move it, it's going to take it back to its default aspect ratio. So the best way to attack the stencil here, this is what I found is the best way. I want you to, and you'll, just follow along here. I want you to sort of go like this, okay? Like crop in and we're going to expand it later, but crop in pretty close. And for me, the statistics area works pretty well, but you want to crop all sides in pretty well because you're going to need to access these handles, right? And then the other thing is you want to make sure that the console screen is behind the stencil. The stencil is transparent. So stencil, right? And what you can do is you just see how console screen is above stencil? Well, you just click the stencil and move it up. Or you can also click console screen and move it down, whatever yours is called, right? So we want to lock the stencil in place, by the way, and you'll see there's a lock here. So the stencil will not move. I can grab it with the mouse and it will never move, and that's what you want to do. But if I grab the console screen, oops, here, maybe I actuate it here. I grab the console screen and I can move it around. So what I do is I just kind of start playing with the handles here. Now, it's a little hard to see, and I try to just kind of generally line things up as best I can, just without using either the distort or the crop, right? So I'm just freehanding that, and I can see, oh, this needs to be a little bigger. And what I'm doing is I'm lining up like the pieces here. I'm lining up these zeros. So like these pieces are, it's pretty close where it is, but you can see the zeros aren't lined up very well, but it is approximately the right size, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I am going to hold down the shift key and hold down the shift key. Now it's out of order. But see, it's approximately the right size, but you see it's a little too wide, right? So I hold down the shift key and I start manipulating it, right? And so like what I did right there is I made it a bit narrower, but you can see that some of the white of where it says statistics is still showing out, right? So I'm going to keep doing that until at some point it's not showing. So it's not showing in the S very much, but it is showing over here in the T. So I'm going to move that over. And now you can start to see like there's a little bit of the pieces kind of peeking out behind there. The blue piece over here, like the long bar. So I'm just going to expand it just a little bit. And that's pretty good as like a preliminary pass. You can still see there's a little bit peeking out. I don't see any of the the red of the zeros poking out behind the gold. And that's a really good start. There's a little bit of white here poking out behind statistics. So maybe I could like bring that in just a little bit. Now the other thing you can do is once you have something selected, you can also use the arrow keys to like fine tune and just like little taps, right? So like little taps moves things up a little taps on the arrow keys move things up and down. But this looks really good right now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to expand it because I don't want to just show part of my Tetris screen. So I'm going to uncrop it, basically holding down the Alt key, grabbing one of the handles, and then just opening it up, right? Just opening it up. And I'm going to line up this green arrow with the edge of the right side. I'm going to line up this green line with the edge of here. It may snap into place, it might not, depending on your settings. So, all right, so I'm lined up here, and you can see there's a little bit of, well, it looks pretty decent over here. You can see that it's like overlapping just a little bit, and some of the gray is out underneath the gold. And if it were perfect, then it wouldn't do that. So that indicates that I need to just scooch it in just a little bit. So I'm going to hold down the shift. I'm going to grab this handle on the right side, and then I'm going to just move it in a little bit. And see how everything starts to line up, and now the only reason you see white here is because the score is 44 on my Tetris playfield, whereas if it wasn't that, it wouldn't line up. And this is actually pretty good. And you can fine-tune it kind of as much as you want. I'm sure you don't want to do it at all, but as long as you don't have any of the white showing out behind, you see if I move it back and forth, see how it does that. And then all of a sudden it just comes into sharp focus. And if I go too far, right, so just about, maybe like that. It's still peeking out a little bit, but this is going to get you like, 99% of the way there. As long as you don't see any white at all poking out the right side. And if you see like these pieces, these gold pieces cover up the pieces over here, then you're in really good shape. So this looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to lock the console screen. And then I'm just going to use this eye. See this eye over here? What that does is that hides the element. And you can see that it kind of, when I do that, the gold part is kind of a little bit to the right. Like it kind of, there's a slight movement over to the right. Not too bad though. So if I want it to be absolutely perfect, I might unlock this console screen and distort like ever so carefully, like maybe one little tick over there. Like you could really, if you're a perfectionist like I am, you could spend all day, but lock it in again. And you know, that's pretty good. That's going to do pretty well for our purposes. So, so both of those are locked in. The stencil is there. Now, the other thing you might have is a webcam. Okay. So I'm going to add in a picture, but what you should actually add in is your webcam. I'm not going to add in a webcam here, but let me see if I have, well, we'll just create a new one called Buko, and we'll hit OK, because I'm going to use an image of Buko as my webcam here. And I have one of these up here in CTM, right? So we're going to just pretend that this is my webcam. This is going to be actually a video capture for you, but for me, it's my webcam. And so this, you'll see this gold box is here. That is a translucent box. You want to move, see, we'll say the Buko is my webcam. I'm going to move it down, and now it's behind it. And so what you can do is like put your webcam there. Now your webcam can overlap and go outside of the box wherever you want it. Doesn't matter. You can do whatever size you want. But what you want to do is that gold box is really just a guide for where your head mostly is going to be. But if you want to use this as like your default sort of, you know, place where you put your webcam, that's totally fine. You can do that. So I don't know. Let's just say I wanted to put my webcam right here, and I just fine tune it. And as long as my head is mostly in that frame, that's going to be doable because that's the area that the thing is captured in. So now I can lock in my webcam, and I can hide and unhide the stencil. So basically now that everything is locked in, I can hide the stencil. I can delete it from this scene if I want to. I like to keep it in just in case I need to recalibrate it another time. But this is pretty good. And you'll see there's very minimal white showing through. There is a little bit showing through. So I'd give myself maybe an A-, but it's still very doable. So, all right. That is it. All that I can think of for the stencil. If you have any questions, go into the Discord. There is a channel in the CTM Discord called Stencil Readiness. So if you have any questions about it or need some help, I will help you, and other people will help you as well. All right. Thanks all. Take care. Bye-bye.